So this talk will be split into three sections. There'll be a bit about the background and history of the canal. There'll be a guide to the canal section by section. And obviously, because it's such a long canal, it's only a very sort of overview. And then the last bit will be about what is the Trust trying to do and how does it fit in with the waterways around the Wilts Berks Canal. So the first part is this map of the canal. Original line was 67 miles long, 55 locks, 2 reservoirs and 2 small short tunnels, one on the Chippenham Branch and one at Cricklade. So the key features here is that the major structure on the Wilts Berks was Stanley Aqueduct. The longest lock flight is 7 locks. Summit Lock used to bring the canal to the summit level, which is a 9-mile pound through Swindon. And then the other locks, just the other Marston locks and Longcock locks, and going down to the Thames. So the 2 reservoirs, Tockenham Water was around here and Coat Water was here. So timeline, what happened in the history? So I'm going through this very quickly. 1793, a report from Robert Whitworth about the canal and the engineering. 1795, Act of Parliament. 1795, construction begins from the west, from Semmington. 1800, canal navigable to Dauntsey. 1804, boats reach Swindon Wharf, so it's coming on quite quickly. 1807, canal complete to Challows, which is near Wantage and Grove. 1810, canal officially opened at Abingdon, so that's the junction with the Thames. Total cost of completed works was £255,262. In today's money, I put an inflation calculator on that, and it's only 21.4 million. So it's very small amount of money compared with what's required today. This 255,000 is quite small, because if you look at something like the Kennet and Avon, that was £980,000, which is 82 million pounds in today's money. So that was the main line of the canal. Then in 1812, an Act of Parliament for the North Wilts Canal. And in 1819, North Wilts Canal opened. And this is very unusual for any sort of big civil engineering projects. Even in those days, it cost less than the estimated value of 60,000, which is a mere £5.5 million in today's money. So the years of near prosperity were 1817 to 1841. So 1841 is a key year because that was the opening of the GWR, Great Western Railway, and the profits that the canal made was by shipping materials for the building of the GWR. So that's where the profits came. 1822, the 52-acre Coat Water was constructed. And then from 1841 to 1877, years of decline, slow decline. And then 1901, the collapse of Stanley Aqueduct caused through traffic to cease. 1914, Act of Abandonment by Swindon Borough Council, which I think the canal through Swindon at that time was not a very nice state. 55 years parted, and then Jack Dolby sees a thin blue line on an Ordnance Survey map, and he sets out to explore it. Apparently, he put his children in the car and then went and traipsed through the undergrowth to look at the canal. As a result of these activities, he produced the first edition of the Wilts Berks Canal book, and it's one of our Bibles. 1977, Wilts Berks Canal Amenity Group formed. And then the last thing here is 1984, the document Boats to Laycock and Beyond was published. And this is important because it was the first document that actually mentioned the restoration of the canal to navigable standard. And the rest, as you know, is history. So this is Jack Stolby's book. And he was asked in a radio interval, was there anything special about the canal? And he says, well, it's really a mean little canal compared with the Kennet Avon, its big brother next door, but it's still an important canal. And what did Jack mean by mean? It's only 7 foot wide, as opposed to the bigger Kennet Avon, which is 14 foot wide. It has no great engineering works, and everything was done comparatively on the cheap. So you can see that reflects the cost of building the canal at 250 odd thousand against the K&A at nearly £1 million. The 7 foot wide and the 14 foot wide refer, of course, to the lock widths. So the next important person was Neil Rumble. So in the 1970s, he spent some time exploring the canal, and he reckoned there was justification to form a group. So in spring of 1977, he publicised the idea in the National Waterways Press, and as a result, the Wilts Berks Canal Amenity Group was formed. So here's the canal. It was officially abandoned. It's been officially abandoned for more than 100 years. Bridges have been removed, new roads built. Towns such as Swindon, Melksham, Abingdon have blocked the route entirely. So where the canal line has been built over, engineers are defining new routes, particularly at Melksham, around Swindon, Abingdon, and at Cricklade. So here are the new routes. This is partly the Melksham link, going around the old canal line through Melksham. At Chippenham, the Chippenham Branch has been built on, so we're now proposing a new route into the centre of Chippenham. And obviously at Swindon there's a major deviation in the fact that you can see that the canal actually climbs above the old summit level. And then at Abingdon, the canal we're proposing to come to the south of Abingdon, and then at Cricklade, the latest idea is to go to the east of Cricklade. So there's a new main line, 54 miles long, 60 locks. North Wilts is 10 miles and 11 locks. So Chippenham Calne branches add more miles and locks, giving a canal system of 70 miles and 80 locks. So the key thing about this is the locks on the original Wilts Berks, and for most of the time will be 70 foot by 7, so it's going to be a narrow canal. However, the Melksham link has got 3 wide locks down to the River Avon from the Kennet Avon. So that was this brief introduction, rather swift, but there we go. So the next bit is the guide to the Wilts Berks. So we're going to do the main line from west to east, and then a little bit about the North Wilts from south to north. So we start at Melksham, the Melksham link. So this is the original design, which, hold on a second, I got a pointer which I need to put up. Right. So this is the original design. There are a couple of other designs at the moment, so it's proceeding. So the original design, there are 3 wide locks. There's one there, and then there's 2 here going into the river. You'll notice at Berryfield there's a pinch point, So this is the pinch point of Berryfield. So there's not much room to get the canal through, but apparently the residents of Berryfield are quite keen to get the canal through there. It's going to be quite a feature for them. Further north, this line goes quite close to the main road, and this is pictures looking back towards Berryfield from about there, and this one is looking forward towards the River Avon. So that could be nice with a canal around there. And then coming through Melksham, Melksham, at the moment, the river through Melksham is not very nice. So this would be cleared up and made navigable. And as you go through Melksham, you get through the town bridge, and then you get to the town weir. And the proposal here is to put a narrow lock and possibly a hydroelectric station. So that could be quite interesting. Above the weir, the river is navigable, and this is a picture taken. We have the Melksham Food Festival, and we have boat trips, and this was taken a few years back when Dragonfly was brought to Melksham. So the river is navigable all the way up to where we propose a new junction, and then there's locks that raise the waterway from the River Avon to the original line of the canal. So this bit is Forest Farm. It's been sort of tidied up and waiting for proper restoration. This section of canal is actually owned by the trust. However, between Forest Farm and the Bell Inn at Laycock, there are one or two little problems. This is taken in the 1980s, a slurry pit, and this, I'm not sure whether this is Queenfield or Laycock lock in the 1980s. So we've got to build two locks and do a little bit of tidying up. Once we've done that, we get to the Bell Inn, and this is the Bell Inn car park, and that line of trees marks the canal. So this will once again, hopefully in the not too distant future, be a canal side pub. Further north we go to Pewsham. So this is the view of Pewsham looking south from Double Bridge, and this was taken in about 1980, in the 1980s. This is taken in 2003, where volunteers were rebuilding Double Bridge, and this is the site of the canal restored looking north from Double Bridge. Now we come to the Pewsham locks. That was about 79, 1980. That's the top lock. This is the starting to rebuild Pewsham bottom lock in 2003. Now the session in March by the branches will show you more up-to-date pictures of the lock flight, and I can assure you it looks there's a lot more to see. So this is Pewsham, and as you see, there's 3 locks, and there's a rebuilt. They're actually rebuilding this dry dock at the moment. There'll be a canal workshop here, and we're hoping to build a lock keeper's cottage, saw pit. So this is going to be a very interesting site when it's all restored. Going further north is Pewsham. This is the Pewsham locks. This is the original line of the Wilts Berks Canal through to Chippenham. This is the rough idea of a proposed new route using the river through Monkton Park. So the Chippenham Wharf, this is taken about 1900, is now a bus station. But the Canal Trust have been using the river, and we've been doing boat trips as part of the Chippenham Folk Festival, and that's proved to be very popular. So I think if boats were brought from the canal system, I think they would be welcome. So we now go back to the main line. So further north, we get to Stanley, and Stanley Aqueduct here over the River Mouldon. This was taken in 1970. I think that's the west face. The east face, not such a good condition in 1970. And by the time of 1990 or 2000s, the aqueduct has disappeared, which is a great shame, but there we go. That is life. North of the aqueduct are the two Stanley locks. Top lock, I think, is filled in. The bottom lock, though, is still there. It raises the canal about 5 foot. And that goes up to the sort of the Foxham pound. That's from Stanley to Foxham this way. And then you've got down here is the Calne branch. Now, the Calne branch in the 1980s, late 1980s, the section of canal was restored and Chevy Bell Bridge rebuilt. And there you can see the canal before restoration was Chevy Well Bridge without the parapets. After restoration, looks pretty looking scene, that quite a stark difference. And then in 1989, the section was opened by Lord Shelburne. That was a good fun day. And then during the 1990s, for quite a few years, there was a Calne Canal Day every year. And that again proved pretty popular. And you'll notice this is damson fly used in 2 halves. So we could actually take 12 people in each half rather than 12 people on the whole boat. That's life, isn't it? So going back to the main line, you're going up to Foxham. The Foxham to Stanley on the main line is about 4 miles of lock-free canal, and then you get to Stanley. This is get to Foxham, and this is Foxham again in the 1980s, cleared and ready to be dredged. There, at that time, lots of the volunteers worked on dredging the canal, and they also rebuilt 2 lift bridges and a lock. We rebuilt Foxham top lock. And now the canal is there. It's a permissive path. The farmers have been very helpful. Unfortunately, they are not keen to give the trust a long lease, so the trust is unable to work on this section of canal at the moment. And then the canal was used in 1991 for a school drama day, when there's something like 280 children between the ages of 8 and 11 came out and had a really good day, sort of pretending to be old people, I mean ancient people. And I think everybody had a good time. It was a lovely experience. And as you can see, the children were very dressed up and the adults were dressed up, and it was good fun. Something that was nice to do. So going further north and east, we get to Dauntsey Lock. So Dauntsey Lock was a canal settlement with cottages, dairy, weighing machine, pub, and unfortunately at the time the cottages were there not in very good nick. So the volunteers again spent a lot of time clearing the canal bed, but this is private land, and it's now the cottage is restored, but unfortunately, because the landowner doesn't want to give the trust a long lease, we're unable to work on that section, which is this side of the bridge, and also the same landowner owns this section, and we're unable to work on that section, unfortunately, which would be, if we could, it'd be a great, and get that restored, it'd be a wonderful asset to the Peterborough Arms, which is, as you probably know, is the pub that the Wilts Berks Canal Trust owns. This will be a canal side pub, well, a restored canal side pub, hopefully in the not too distant future. I would say if you're in the area, go and have a beer or two there, and they do very nice meals. Right, going further east again, we come to Seven Locks. So this section in green, 3 and 4, is owned by the Trust, and in the 1980s, Lock 4 looked like that, and then it was rebuilt. But we can't go any further because of we don't own that land. As you go further north and further east, you get to a remote section between top of Seven Locks and Vaston Wharf. Some of that canal is you can see it's proper canal. It's overgrown, but the canal channel's there, and there's a part of which you can walk. It's a public footpath, but also quite a lot of it is incorporated into fields, and you cannot go to it. This is Vaston Wharf. As you see, it was a wood yard. Some of the buildings, these in particular, are still there, and it's still a wood yard. So, but it is going to be quite an interesting problem to get through the road there. The next bit of canal here is Dunnington, where you've got Dunnington Aqueduct and then the 2 Dunnington locks, which raise the canal to the Wootton Bassett, that Royal Wootton Bassett level. And this is Dunnington Aqueduct, and it's still there, and it's the second biggest, well, it was the second biggest structure on the canal. So you can see this is, compared with something like Dundas Aqueduct, it's not very big. So we now get on to Royal Wootton Bassett. So during the from 1989 and into the 1990s, this section of canal, about a mile, was restored, or it's a kilometre actually, was restored. And then in 1998, it held the Inland Waterways Association National Trailboat Rally. And as you can see, that's, you know, that was a very popular event, and it shows you some of the potential of the canal. So we now go towards Mornington Farm. This is Chaddington Lock. It's now called Chaddington Lock, and that used to be Summit Lock. So in 2005, that was officially opened. This bit of canal is being restored, and then, so if you look at from there westward, that was a picture taken in about the 1970s. That was a picture taken in over 2015. Looking west from Chaddington Lane Bridge, or this is Bricknell Lane Bridge. If you look east towards Studley Grange, this is 2015, 2016, and about a mile of canal there has now been restored. So that's the sort of Royal Wootton Bassett section. As you go further east, you get to Hay Lane and Wharf Road. So these are roadworks that are happening at the moment. And this is the diversion of Wharf Road. And that's the culvert being built to take the canal and towpath. Here you can see the road bridge under the M4. And so we are now working on studies to create another bridge or underpass for the canal. Right, we now go to Swindon. So this is what we're going to do first, is a little bit of the original line through Swindon. So this is the original canal line, but because we got a new canal line there, this will then become the North Wilts branch. But at the moment we call that the original canal line. This is Skew Bridge, and in 1979 that was the first work site of the Wilts Berks Canal Amenity Group, and that's Skew Bridge as it looks now. And in 2015 the Duchess of Cornwall, she opened the a wharf, a little landing stage wharf next to Waitrose for Dragonfly. So that was a nice day. A little bit damp, but it was a nice day. So we go further in towards the centre of Swindon. You've got the Brunel Centre, magic roundabout at 2 points. There are quite a few bridges that we got old pictures of. Brunel Centre, canal used to go straight through there. Somewhere in this lot, there's a milestone which has been concreted into the base of one of the buildings. I think it points the wrong way. I think it should be on the other side of the canal. But there we go. That's life. So this is the Brunel Centre. This is the magic roundabout, which was the site of Swindon Wharf. Those were the days, eh? So we now go. I'm just giving you these a couple of pictures of Swindon original line. I think is that. Well, the canal in Swindon is a talk in itself. So we now go to the new line, the new route, and that climbs around Coat Water. And here we got the Wichelstow section, which has been built by developers, and that is quite an attractive section. It's got a lock, and we await for it to be connected to the King's Hill section. So that's coming up here. And then we've got Coat Water. So Coat Water is 52 acres. It's now a site of special scientific interest. This is the diving platform built in 1935, Art Deco, grade 2 listed building. They used to have competitions, local competitions and national diving competitions. But in 1958, there was a health scare and then everything stopped. But here we go, 1992. We had a season on, Damsonfly had a season on the water. And that's quite an interesting experience when you put damselfly on a vast body of water. It's quite a feeling. Maybe one day we can try it again. So we go further east and then north, and this is the Swindon Eastern Villages. This is the proposed route. Lots of negotiations and talks around there. So that's making progress, but I think you'll get more information about that in the March talk or session. Then we go further. This goes back to the original main line to go to Shrivenham. And this is quite an interesting section of canal. A lot of work was done in the 1990s on this bit. Dredging, clearing the canal towpath, etc. And several things to note. Stepping Stone Lane Bridge, that's been rebuilt. Shrivenham Arch Bridge, that is the only remaining road bridge or the original road bridge on the canal network. And that was built in 1804, and it's a grade 2 listed structure. And then you've got the Canal Side Park, which is owned by the Trust. And then if you look down here, there's potential to go as a level pound all the way to Longcock Top Lock, and then Longcock Arm. There's still watering quite a bit of it down here. So when restored, that could be quite a nice section for mooring boats. So this is Stepping Stone Lane Bridge down here, and that's Shrivenham Arch Bridge there. And this was taken in the 1990s, and as you can see, quite a lot of dredging took place. And then this is Canal Side Park and the slipway, and again in the 1990s when that was built. It's still there. This is now subject to a program of rewatering that so that we can have water in that section all year round. So that's in progress at the moment. We go further east, and then this becomes the Uffington and the Long Pound. So this is a very remote section. As you can see from these are the footpaths. There's no real access to this canal except perhaps at Childrey. It's quite close to the Uffington White Horse. It's a very pretty section of canal. This is the bottom below Longcock Bottom Lock, and there's the canal embankment. And then this one is pictures taken towards the railway, and the canal sort of loops in this field. So it's a lot of it is still there. Some of it's been incorporated into fields, but it's a challenge. So we go further east, and we get to Childrey and the Challows. So this is coming up to Wantage, and the whole length of this canal, 2 miles from Childrey Wharf all the way up to Stockham, was subject of the Big Dig. In 1991, 1,000 volunteers descended on the canal for a weekend, and they cleared 2 miles of canal, of shrub and stuff like that. Magnificent event. They rebuilt Childrey Wharf, and they also had fun. It was a great weekend. This is Childrey Wharf today, and this is the canal on this West Challow, and that's the canal looking back towards Challow Bridge. And that's after the Big Dig. This section, the Stockham section here, was dredged, and it now holds water, and it's a very attractive section of canal. Again, I expect when we have the branches talking in March, there'll be more details about what's going on here. So you then go further east again, and this is Stockham section, and now we go to, this is the Elm Farm section, and this was Wantage Wharf, and Sackhouse Museum is owned by the Trust. So these are the buildings in the 1990s on Wantage Wharf. Unfortunately, the only building left from Wantage Wharf, or the original buildings, is the Sackhouse. So all these flats have been built on the wharf. And then you go to Elm Farm section. That's holding water, looking quite nice. Restored in the 1990s. And I think there's more work planned for that. And it will be discussed at in the March meeting about what's actually going on. So you go from there, you go down the Grove flight of 6 Grove locks, and they come up to Cow Common. They go across the GWR railway, and then go to Cow Common, which is a very flat section of land. In 2006, Thames Water put a spanner in the works, possibly. An opportunity or a threat, could well be an opportunity. They want a big reservoir stuck right over the canal. But, you know, it's an opportunity. Negotiations and talks that continue. Now, the canal line, the canal originally went through Abingdon, but because it's been built over, a new junction, a new line has been created, coming to join the Thames at Jubilee Junction. So this is a picture, a painting of the original entrance of the canal. And this is Jubilee Junction at the opening day. And that's what it looks like now. So that was a very brief hop, skip and jump down the main line of the Wilts Berks Canal. Now we have a look at the North Wilts. So this is a photograph of the original junction of the canal. And as you see, the canal doesn't look in very good condition. So we're now going a bit along the North Wilts, but a bit further north to Mouldon Hill Country Park, which is a very, very pretty bit of canal. During the 1990s again, quite a lot of work was done by volunteers, restoring the brickwork of Mouldon Lock 3, of the River Aqueduct, and dredging the canal. So, and also, at the same time, Swindon Borough Council put this culvert through the road. So we're ready to go further east and then back towards the centre of Swindon. So this is Mouldon Lock 3 being restored. This is what it looked like in 2015. This is what the canal looked like in the 90s when it was first restored. Looks like at the moment. Now the problem is, the trust have been trying to get water into that section, so we're having discussions with the Environment Agency. Plus, there are newts. Plus, there are rare birds that nest in the reeds sometimes of the year. So it's life's never easy. And then this is rebuilding the River Ray Aqueduct in about 1997. Right, this is looking at the Cricklade Country Way. In 2007, the trust, local authorities put together a bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund. They got money. They got about 200 odd thousand pounds to do studies. So they did quite a lot of studies. But unfortunately, when they put together the bid for the money to do this, they weren't successful. So the Cricklade Country Way went from Mouldon to Cricklade and stopped there. So it was going to restore all of this section of canal. So in the middle of that is Hayes Lock, which is owned by the trust. So whether or not we use that for navigation again is a matter of conjecture. So as you go further north, you get to another big aqueduct, the River Quay Aqueduct. I mean, this is big, Wilts and Berks standard. So this was restored in the early 2000s, late 1990s. And then the canal goes further north, and not quite shown on the map is where the canal connected to the Thames and Severn Canal at Latin Basin. The proposals at the moment are to use a new junction, IC junction up here in the north. But this is Latin Basin, and it's being worked on by another group. Okay, well, that is a brief outline of the Wilts and Berks Canal system. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to restore the historic canal and new bits to a navigable waterway. That's the key thing. We want the whole system to be navigable. And as a result of this, what we're trying to do is to create a sustainable, that's a good word, isn't it? Eco-friendly corridor, which will provide income and leisure opportunities for the community. But also, canal corridor will provide a safe and welcoming habitat for both plants and animals. So that's what the Canal Trust is trying to do. But you don't do it in isolation. So the Wilts and Berks Canal system is the central element of this 170 odd mile waterways network. And you'll notice it links to the Cotswold Canal, to the Thames, to the Kennet and Avon. So the Kennet and Avon Canal was officially opened by the Queen in 1990. It's a broad 14-foot wide waterway. The Cotswold Canal is now a huge amount of work being done from Stroud to Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. And so that will be, Stroud will be connected to the canal system within the next few years. And then there's also plans to work on this section of canal. So as you can see, if this was a canal system operating today, it would be extremely popular with boaters. And this shows you the time. This is sort of an estimate of the time taken for boaters to travel different sections of the canal. So basically this loop here would take just over a week, maybe a week, but depending on how enthusiastic the crew are, week to 10 days. The bigger loop and the bigger loop there is 2 weeks or so. Then from Trowbridge up to Swindon and back again is a week. And then obviously from Swindon to Oxford and back again would be a week's travel. So there's a lot of potential boating activities in this area. You'll notice it's about 6 hours to go this little bit. And the reason that is the Cane Hill flight of 29 locks, wide locks. So that's going to be hard work. So a lot of people there's a lot of hire boats on this section. And at the present, they sort of dawdle from Lower Fox Hangers to Bath and back again. But when the canal is open, this will be a very busy section of canal, and I think that will benefit a lot of people. Now, you might think well, canals not just for boaters, in fact, a very small percentage of the people who use the canals are boaters. So the thing is, the network connects to lots of other bits and pieces. So here I've got these numbers represent highlights, places where people can go. So there's Gloucester Docks, the Wild Slimbridge, the water park, Cotswold Water Park, Oxford, obviously, Bath, Bristol, nice places to go. The railway centre at Didcot. You've got Avebury, you've got the Uffington White Horse, you've got Bowood House, you've got Laycock. So you've got lots of entertaining places which are very close to the waterway. But you've also got some very nice long distance walks, the Ridgeway, the Cotswold Way, the Thames Path. So restoring the canal with a good towpath and cycle track, you've got a link here which can join to these paths. And then also you can create loops, walking and cycling routes. Well, I'm not quite sure you can cycle over the Ridgeway, but walking routes. So it's a very huge tourist leisure facility that the Wilts Berks Canal Trust are trying to create within the area. And that's the main talk. And finally, I'd like to leave you with this poem, which was put in the back of Jack Dalby's book. I think that's a very nice sort of evocative poem about other days. And I think apparently there are sort of poems now of the canal restoration progress. I think that could be quite another thing to put down. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've finished.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. If people would like to ask any questions, the easiest way, you can do it by using the chat facility if you're in the Google Meet. So that's just by clicking the square box with the lines in it on the bottom right hand side of your screen if you're using a computer. If you click that, you can ask a question there, and we'll try and answer it. And if you're on YouTube, you can put something in the chat there as well, and I can pick it up as well. So I've got a question from Trevor Turpin, who's asking. He says he joined the trust 5 years ago, and there was reference to a financial problem caused by Stanley locks and aqueduct. So the financial problem, I think, was when the canal was forced to close in 1910. But perhaps you can expand a bit on what happened when the aqueduct failed in whenever it was, John.
1901. I think the problem was that the traffic was dying down, and it was very well, it wasn't very good. I mean, when the railways come along, they take all the trade, and so because there wasn't much trade on the network, the canal's condition deteriorated rapidly, and so it was more and more difficult to transport goods. And then the final nail in the coffin was when Stanley Aqueduct collapsed, and at that time it wasn't a huge breach, and it could have been fixed reasonably well, but they just didn't have the money. So I mean, the problem was it was the old sort of technology, and the railways had just taken all the trade. So that was it was just going down quite quickly. I mean, that's the reason why it sort of faded and died.
Okay, thank you. Peter Williams is asking, how much will the canal cost to restore?
Well, I think well, we don't exactly know, but can you give them a rough guess, Martin?
I think we're talking hundreds of millions to restore it, and I'm not sure we actually have an exact number on how many hundreds of millions it is, but it's quite a substantial sum of money.
But which when you look at how much it costs to actually build the canal, which in today's term is £21.5 million, that seems ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't quite. I'm not. Your inflation calculator seems to be very pessimistic or optimistic or something. I would have thought it came out with bigger numbers than that, but
well, I would have thought so too. But I've tried it on several. And
anyway, Steve is asking, when do you think the canal will open for boat traffic?
Well, I mean, I think it could be open to Pewsham within 10 years, and hopefully the sections will start be opening within the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years. Sections like from Wotton, Bassett to Swindon, and from Semmington to Pewsham, certainly hopefully within the next 10 years. So it'll be opened in sections, I think. And when the full canal will be opened is I wouldn't like to say at the moment.
Yeah, we're doing it piece by piece, I think is the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
Starting from the ends and in the middle as well.
Yeah.
Trevor Turpin's come back and says thanks. He says, I meant the trust had lost some money in about 2010. I don't recognise that date for.
It was Studley Grange.
We were struggling a little bit with some money issues around Studley Grange, but that was in 2016, I think, not 2010. But
yeah, so 2016 Studley Grange, but fortunately that's now all been sorted out.
Yep.
And the trust is in good financial state at the moment.
So Sarah Hall is asking, do we have planning permission for the new legs of the route?
We're working on it. The Melksham link is the first major one, and we're hopefully within this year we're going to be applying to Wiltshire County Council for planning permission for the new section of canal. At Swindon, the developers have got planning permission to restore the canal basically from the M4 to Kings Hill to Wichelstowe. And then on the eastern villages, we are working with Swindon Borough Council and the developers to get planning permission. It's like building, motorways and things. To build a motorway, first of all, you could do all the engineering and the planning permissions. That takes yonks, and then you've got to get the money, which takes yonks as well, but not quite as long yonks. And then when you've done all of that, it actually takes quite a short time to build it. So that's what we're hoping, that all of this working is going to be, takes the time, but once that is clear, we can then restore or build the bits of canal very quickly.
So Andy Lloyd is asking or saying, I only know the canal route around Swindon. Where else would you recommend I visit to see interesting parts of the route with good access?
Well, it's Pewsham. Pewsham's obviously a good place. There's Royal Wootton Bassett is very good.
I think the Challows as well, probably.
Oh, Challows and Wantage is there's about 2.5, 3 miles of canal from Childrey into Wantage and Grove. So there's quite long sections there.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of places. I mean, access at Chippenham, Pewsham, unfortunately, it's a little bit of a walk from where you can park your car at Pewsham, but it's well worth the visit. It's probably one of the most sort of compact sites on the canal in terms of the amount of features in a small area, really, at Pewsham.
Yeah, it's a nice walk. And the other nice thing to do around there, of course, is the cycle path, the railway path from Stanley up to Calne. That's quite a nice walk. But that's close to the canal. It's parallel to the canal, but on the other side of the valley. But it's quite a tight valley.
Okay, John, that is. Oh, Andy says thank you. That's all the questions we've had at the moment. So we peaked at. Oh, sorry. Yes. Before people leave, if you have a couple of minutes, at the bottom of your screen on the right-hand side, if you're using a computer, you'll see a little funny symbol thing, which is a triangle and a square and a circle. If you click that and go to polls, I will launch. I've created 2 questions at the moment. I got carried away and I ended up not doing the rest. I'm sorry. So basically, there's a couple of questions about whether you found the talk interesting and
about right length of the talk.
And about the right length is what I put at the moment. I did put. I thought I'd created the other one about how often, but I obviously didn't.
This is the first time we've tried this, so we're going to have 1 or 2 things that we can sort out.
But yes, if you get a chance just to click the boxes for those polls just by going to the bottom there, we'd appreciate that. Just to so there's a question from Ashley Tiling. It says he met you in 1985.
Did he?
When he was working to support you with volunteers from HMS Royal Arthur.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Jonathan Seagrave says, thanks, very interesting about the right length. So I think we're just about finished, I think.
Colin Green has raised a hand.
So yeah, Trevor Turpin says it was Studley he was meaning, I think.
Yeah.